There was a time when money felt personal. Every bill carried a feeling, every number carried a story, every delay carried a verdict, not just about finances, but about worth, safety, timing, and identity. And then, quietly, something changed. Money didn't disappear, work didn't stop, structure didn't collapse, but the emotion dissolved, not because you became detached, but because you became settled. Stay with me until the very end, because what you'll understand then is why money was never meant to carry your nervous system. For most people, money is not a tool. It is a signal of safety, a signal of danger, a signal of progress, a signal of failure. And because it is a signal, the body reacts to it long before the mind can interpret it. A bank notification tightens the chest. An unexpected expense shortens the breath. A balance check shifts the mood for the entire day. This has nothing to do with numbers. It has everything to do with identity placement. When identity is fragmented, money becomes emotional because it is unconsciously asked to do something impossible: regulate the nervous system. Money is forced to answer questions it was never designed to answer. Am I safe? Am I doing well? Am I enough? Am I falling behind? And because money cannot truly answer those questions, the relationship becomes volatile. Neville Goddard never taught money as an object to chase. He taught state. Because money behaves very differently when it is no longer responsible for your emotional stability. When identity integrates, money is demoted, not dismissed, demoted. It returns to its natural role: structure, exchange, flow. And when that happens, something extraordinary occurs. Money stops triggering the body. What if money felt intense not because you cared too much, but because it was carrying weight that never belonged to it? Think back to a moment when money felt heavy. Not scarce, heavy. You weren't necessarily broke, you weren't necessarily failing, but money occupied space in your nervous system. You thought about it when you woke up. You thought about it before sleep. You thought about it in moments that had nothing to do with finances. That wasn't financial awareness. That was identity outsourcing. Because when identity is unstable, it looks for external anchors. And money is the most convenient anchor of all. It's measurable. It's comparable. It appears to offer certainty. So the nervous system clings to it. But when identity integrates, the body relaxes. And when the body relaxes, money loses its emotional charge. Not overnight, not magically, but unmistakably. You notice it when a bill no longer spikes, anxiety fluctuations feel neutral. Planning feels calm instead of compulsive. Abundance doesn't excite you, it stabilizes you. This is not indifference, this is regulation. And regulation changes everything. There was a man, let's call him Thomas. For years, Thomas lived in constant financial tension. Even during good months, his body never relaxed. Money came in, but safety never arrived. He tracked obsessively, calculated endlessly, prepared for collapse that never came. Until one day, without financial breakthrough, something shifted. He noticed he hadn't checked his balance in days, not because he was avoiding it, because it didn't feel necessary. Later he said, "It's not that I have more money, it's that money stopped telling me who I am." That is the moment emotion leaves the equation. Pause here. If you felt this softening, this quiet detachment from emotional money pressure, leave a simple declaration in the comments. Money feels neutral. Then let's continue. When money stops being emotional, structure becomes possible. True structure, not control. Control is anxiety pretending to be responsibility. Structure is clarity without tension. Most people never experience this distinction. They think managing money means tightening, More rules, more tracking, more vigilance. But vigilance is a symptom of fear. When identity integrates, structure becomes gentle. You plan without gripping. You organize without obsessing. You adjust without self-blame. And this is where Neville's teachings are often misunderstood. People think living from the end means ignoring structure. It doesn't. It means removing fear from structure. Because fear distorts perception, it causes overcorrection. It causes rigidity. It causes burnout. But when fear leaves, structure becomes fluid. What if financial stability was never about control, but about removing fear from the system? This is why integrated people often appear unbothered by money. Not careless, not irresponsible, unbothered. They don't dramatize fluctuations. They don't personalize temporary contractions. They understand something subtle. Money reflects identity over time, not emotion in the moment. So they allow cycles, expansion, plateau, adjustment, no panic. And because there is no panic, decisions improve. Opportunities are recognized faster. Timing improves. Work becomes cleaner. This is not manifestation. This is friction removal. You may notice this first in how you work. Work no longer feels like pressure. It feels like participation. You show up without bracing. You rest without guilt. You receive without suspicion. This changes output, not because you push harder, but because you stop leaking energy. If this relationship with money feels familiar, if anxiety is loosening and structure feels calmer, there is a 21-day challenge for Create Your Dream Life, linked below. Not to attract money, not to fix finances, but to stabilize this identity, so money remains a neutral structure, not an emotional trigger. Explore it only if it resonates. Now, let's go deeper. When money stops being emotional, work changes. Not because you work less, but because resistance dissolves. Resistance shows up as procrastination, burnout, overworking, resentment. These are not productivity issues, they are identity issues. Work becomes heavy when it is asked to prove worth. When identity integrates, work returns to its natural place. Expression, contribution, exchange. And when work is no longer compensatory, it becomes lighter. What if burnout wasn't from doing too much, but from doing it while divided? You begin to notice clearer boundaries, cleaner output, better pacing, fewer emotional spikes. You don't attach your self-image to results. You don't interpret delays as rejection. You simply adjust. This is why integrated people are consistent without discipline. They don't force routines. They move naturally. And money responds to that clarity, not instantly, but reliably. Because money follows coherence. Here is where most people misunderstand this stage. They think emotional neutrality around money means you no longer care about security. The opposite is true. You finally experience real safety, not the fragile safety of numbers, but the stable safety of identity. This safety does not fluctuate with income. It doesn't disappear with expenses. It is internal. And from that internal safety, external structures stabilize. Neville understood this deeply when he spoke of feeling secure before evidence. Security is not a result, it is a state. And when the state stabilizes, money follows its lead. What if the safety you were chasing through money was always meant to come first? This is why nothing feels dramatic anymore, not gains, not losses, because drama was the sign of dependency, and dependency dissolves when identity integrates. Here is the truth promised at the beginning. Money stops being emotional when it is no longer asked to define you. When identity integrates, worth stabilizes. And when worth stabilizes, money becomes quiet, not absent, quiet. It moves, it adjusts, it supports, but it no longer commands your nervous system. This is not detachment, this is adulthood. If your financial life feels calmer now, less reactive, less dramatic, that is not complacency, That is regulation. And regulation allows growth without collapse. If this way of relating to money resonates, if you want to remain close to this state, stay aligned, not by chasing abundance, but by choosing environments that don't reattach emotion to structure. Subscribing here is not about money, it's about coherence, about staying near a frequency where money returns to its rightful place, a tool, not an identity. And from here on, life becomes easier to carry.